You have seen a face before, you are certain of it. Every feature is correct, the eyes, the mouth, the way the head tilts when it listens. And yet something, some quality you cannot name, tells you that what you are looking at is not what it appears to be. You have seen a face before, you are certain of it. Every feature is correct, the eyes, the mouth, the way the head tilts when it listens. And yet something, some quality you cannot name, tells you that what you are looking at is not what it appears to be. There is a particular kind of fear that does not arrive with a shock. It arrives with a whisper of recognition, a feeling that the thing in front of you is almost right, close enough to be convincing, but wrong in some way your body understands before your mind catches up. It is the fear of the nearly human, the smile that does not quite reach the eyes, the voice that follows the shape of warmth without ever producing it. In 1816, a German writer named E.T.A. Hoffmann published a story called The Sandman. It is one of the strangest and most disturbing pieces of fiction from the Romantic era, a story that troubled its first readers and has never stopped troubling the people who encounter it since. It is not a ghost story, though it contains terror. It is not a love story, though it contains obsession. It is a story about what happens when the boundary between what is real and what is imagined begins to dissolve, and about a man who can no longer tell the difference. It begins in childhood. It almost always does. A boy named Nathanael grows up in a household where, on certain evenings, his mother sends the children to bed early. She tells them the Sandman is coming. It is a common expression, a harmless way of saying your eyes are heavy, sleep is near. But Nathanael's nursemaid tells him something different. She tells him the Sandman is a real figure, a creature who comes for children who will not sleep and throws handfuls of sand into their eyes until the eyes bleed and fall out. Then he carries the eyes away in a sack to feed to his own children, who sit in a nest on the moon with curved beaks like owls. It is a cruel, vivid image, the kind that lodges in a child's mind and refuses to leave, and Nathanael cannot leave it alone. He begins to listen at night for the heavy footsteps on the stairs, the visitor his mother expects on those evenings when the children are sent away. He becomes convinced that the Sandman is real, that the footsteps belong to him. And one night, he hides himself in his father's study to see. The man who enters is not a monster. He is a lawyer named Coppelius, a large, repulsive figure who has visited the family before. His hands are enormous. His face is twisted and unpleasant. He and Nathanael's father conduct strange experiments together at a small furnace, bending over the flames in a way that distorts their faces into something inhuman. Nathanael is discovered. Coppelius seizes him, and in the boy's terrified perception, threatens to tear out his eyes, to burn them, to unscrew them from his skull. His father intervenes. The boy faints. He wakes days later from a fever, and Coppelius is gone. But the damage is complete. From this moment forward, Nathanael associates Coppelius with the Sandman. The nursery tale and the real man fuse into a single figure of dread, and no amount of growing up will fully separate them. Not long after, Nathanael's father dies. The circumstances are violent and obscure, an explosion during one of the experiments. Coppelius disappears from the town, and the boy is left with a grief that is entangled, inextricably, with the terror that came before it. Hoffmann is precise about this. He does not separate the trauma from the loss. He folds one into the other, so that Nathanael's mourning for his father and his fear of Coppelius become part of the same wound. It is not simply that bad things happened in childhood. It is that the child's attempt to make sense of those things, through imagination, through the myth of the Sandman, has created a pattern in his mind that he will carry into adult life. A template of fear. Years pass. Nathanael grows into a young man. He studies at university. He has a fiancée, Clara, who is rational, affectionate, and grounded, a woman who sees the world in clear, steady terms, and who loves him with a patience that the story will test almost to breaking point. He writes to her about his childhood. He writes about the Sandman. He writes about the terror that still surfaces in him without warning. And Clara listens. She reasons with him. She suggests, gently but firmly, that the horror exists inside his own mind, that Coppelius was simply a man, that the Sandman is a story, and that the darkness he feels is something he is generating, not something being done to him. She is, in many ways, correct. But Nathanael does not want to be reasoned with. He wants to be understood. And there is a difference. Then the past returns. A traveling salesman arrives at the university. He sells barometers and optical instruments. His name is Giuseppe Coppola. He is Italian, where Coppelius was German. His manner is different. His trade is different. But there is something about him, something Nathanael cannot place, that triggers the old fear. Coppola offers to sell him eyes. Beautiful eyes, he says, opening a case of spectacles and lenses. Nathanael recoils, horrified, before realizing the man is offering eyeglasses. He buys a small pocket telescope, almost as a way of proving to himself that the encounter is harmless, ordinary, but he begins to use the telescope, and what he sees through it changes everything. Across the square from his lodgings, visible through a window, sits a young woman. She is beautiful, perfectly still, perfectly composed. Her name, he learns, is Olympia. She is the daughter of one of his professors, a man named Spallanzani. Nathanael watches her through the lens, evening after evening, and something in him shifts. He becomes fascinated with her, then captivated, then consumed. Hoffmann describes Nathanael's growing obsession with the care of someone observing a patient. Through the telescope, Olympia appears ideal. Her beauty is flawless. Her stillness reads as depth. When Nathanael finally meets her at a gathering, he is enraptured. He speaks to her endlessly about his poetry, his feelings, his innermost thoughts. And Olympia listens. She says almost nothing, an occasional sigh, a single repeated word. Ah, that is all. And Nathanael finds this intoxicating. He tells his friends that she is the only person who has ever truly understood him, that her silence is a form of profound sympathy, that unlike Clara, who challenges and questions, Olympia simply receives. She is, in his eyes, the perfect listener, the perfect mirror. The people around him see what he cannot. His friends notice that Olympia's movements are strange, too regular, too mechanical. Her eyes, they say, have no life in them. She walks with an unsettling precision. One friend describes her as eerily stiff, as though every gesture has been rehearsed rather than felt. Nathanael dismisses all of it. He calls his friends cold, unimaginative, incapable of recognizing true feeling. He is in love, deeply, entirely, destructively, and nothing will persuade him that what he is looking at is not what he believes it to be. And this is where Hoffmann's story becomes something more than Gothic horror. Because what Nathanael is doing is something we recognize. He is projecting. He has taken the emptiness of Olympia and filled it with everything he wants to see. Her silence becomes understanding. Her blankness becomes depth. She never disagrees because she has no opinions. She never challenges because she has no thoughts. She is not a partner. She is a surface. And Nathanael has mistaken the absence of resistance for the presence of love. The revelation arrives violently. Nathanael goes to Spallanzani's house and finds a scene of chaos. Spallanzani and Coppola are fighting over Olympia's body, pulling her between them like a disputed object. Because that is what she is. Olympia is not a woman. She is an automaton, a mechanical doll, built by Spallanzani and fitted with eyes crafted by Coppola. Her beauty was engineered, her stillness was literal, her sighs were the only sound the mechanism could produce. Coppola tears the figure away and flees. Spallanzani is left holding the eyes, two glass discs that he throws at Nathanael, screaming that Coppola has stolen his automaton, his life's work. The eyes roll across the floor. And the eyes are the key. Hoffmann has placed eyes at the center of this story from the very beginning. The Sandman steals children's eyes. Coppelius threatened to remove Nathanael's eyes as a child. Coppola sold him the lenses through which he first saw Olympia, and now the lifeless glass eyes of a mechanical woman lie on the ground in front of him, and the whole structure of his desire collapses. He is not looking at the beloved. He is looking at a puppet. The thing he loved was never alive. Nathanael breaks. He falls into a violent madness, screaming, convulsing, attacking those around him. He is restrained and taken to an asylum. Hoffmann describes it simply, without melodrama. It is the quiet, clinical collapse of a mind that can no longer hold the weight of what it has seen. He recovers, or seems to. Months pass. He returns to Clara, to the ordinary world, to the rhythms of daily life. It appears for a brief and fragile interval that the worst is over, that the madness was a crisis, not a permanent state, that he has come back to himself. But Hoffmann does not believe in clean recoveries, and neither does the story. Nathanael and Clara climb a tower together, a church tower overlooking the town. It is a calm afternoon. Clara points out something in the distance, and Nathanael reaches into his pocket for the telescope. Coppola's telescope, the same lens through which he first saw Olympia. He raises it to his eye, and it falls on Clara. Something breaks again. Whatever fragile repair had been made gives way. He sees Clara through the lens, and what he sees is not her. The old pattern seizes him. He screams. He calls her a wooden doll. He tries to throw her from the tower. She is saved only because her brother hears the struggle and reaches them in time. And then, standing on the tower, raving, Nathanael looks down and sees a figure in the crowd below, a large man looking up at him. Coppelius, or Coppola, or the Sandman, or the shape his fear has always taken. The figure is there, and whether it is real or imagined no longer matters, because for Nathanael the distinction has ceased to exist. He throws himself from the tower. He dies on the stones below. The crowd gathers, and the figure of Coppelius vanishes into the crowd as though he were never there at all. The question that has followed this story for 2 centuries is the same question it poses from its first page. How much of what Nathanael experienced was real? Was Coppelius truly a sinister figure, or was he simply an unpleasant man distorted by a child's imagination into something monstrous? Was Coppola the same person, or a coincidence that Nathanael's damaged mind could not absorb? Did the Sandman pursue him through life, or did he build the Sandman inside himself, assembling the figure again and again from the materials of his own fear? Hoffmann gives no answer, and that refusal is the heart of the story's power. Because the uncanny, the word most associated with this tale, is not about ghosts or supernatural events. It is about the familiar becoming strange. It is the moment when something you thought you knew turns out to be something else entirely, a face that shifts, a beloved that was never alive, a self you thought was stable, revealed to be built on fault lines you could not see. Sigmund Freud wrote an entire essay on this story. He used it to explore the uncanny as a psychological phenomenon, the return of something repressed, the dread that arises not from the unknown but from something known, something intimate, something that should have remained hidden but has come to light. He argued that the fear of losing one's eyes, which runs through the entire tale, is really the fear of losing oneself, the fear that the thing you use to perceive the world cannot be trusted. What Hoffmann understood, writing more than 200 years ago, was a fear that has only grown sharper with time, the fear of the artificial passing for the real. Olympia is a clockwork doll, but the horror she provokes is not about mechanics. It is about the possibility that we might not be able to tell the difference, that something can walk and sit and sigh and be beautiful and still be empty, that the signs we rely on to recognize life, a face, a voice, a presence, can be perfectly replicated without any life behind them at all. We live with this fear now in ways Hoffmann could not have imagined. Synthetic voices, generated faces, conversations with systems that sound human and are not. The question Olympia raises is no longer hypothetical, it is daily. And the deeper unease is the same one Nathanael felt, not just that the imitation exists, but that we might prefer it, that the empty mirror might be more comfortable than the living person who talks back. Nathanael chose Olympia over Clara. He chose silence over challenge, reflection over reality. And the story suggests that this choice, the retreat into a controlled, artificial version of connection, is itself a form of madness, a slow, willing blindness. But the deepest layer of the Sandman is not about automata, or childhood trauma, or even the uncanny. It is about the instability of the self. Nathanael does not simply encounter frightening things. He loses the ability to know what is real. The lens distorts, the memory contaminates. The pattern he built in childhood, Sandman, eyes, theft, destruction, repeats and repeats until it overwrites everything else. He cannot look at a woman without seeing a doll. He cannot look at himself without seeing someone under threat. He cannot separate what happened from what he feared would happen, because in his mind they have become the same thing. And the story asks, in its quiet, relentless way, whether any of us are fully immune to this. Whether the patterns we carry from childhood, the fears, the myths, the stories we told ourselves to explain what we did not understand, whether those patterns ever truly disappear, or whether they simply wait, dormant, for the right trigger to bring them roaring back. The telescope is the trigger. The lens is the instrument of distortion. It makes the distant appear close, the artificial appear alive, and the beloved appear monstrous. Nathanael does not see through it clearly. He sees through it obsessively, and there is no corrective lens for the kind of distortion that begins inside the mind. The Sandman endures because it does not reassure. It offers no moment of safety, no wise character who explains the truth, no resolution that tells us what was real and what was imagined. Clara survives, but she does not save Nathanael. Reason does not cure him. Love does not protect him. The story simply follows its own logic to its end, and the end is a fall. Hoffmann understood that some fears do not have solutions, that the boundary between perception and reality is not a wall but a membrane, thin, permeable, and under constant pressure from both sides, that we do not see the world as it is. We see it through the lenses we have been given, or the lenses we have chosen, or the lenses we did not know we were wearing. The real horror of the Sandman is not a figure who steals children's eyes. It is not a mechanical woman who passes for human. It is not even madness, though madness is where the story ends. The real horror is simpler and closer. It is the possibility that what you are seeing right now, the face in front of you, the room around you, the life you believe to be solid, may not be what it appears, that the lens you are looking through has been shaped by things you cannot fully remember, distorted by fears you thought you had outgrown, and that somewhere, in the margin between what is real and what you need to believe, the Sandman is still watching, patient, familiar, almost human, and waiting for you to look.